You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Canada Paralympian wheelchair curling athlete Collinda Joseph. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in competing professionally in the sport of wheelchair curling?
Well, I actually didn't quite know that until I actually had an opportunity to try it at a local curling club here, at a thing we call the Give It a Go Day. So once I went out and tried it at that moment, I immediately fell in love with the sport and decided that it was a sport I wanted to pursue more intently, and that's kind of how it all got started.
What was that like, obviously, getting to participate in that event, Give It a Go Day?
It was a lot of fun. It was an opportunity for athletes with disabilities and athletes who use wheelchairs to actually try something new. And at that time, wheelchair curling had really only started about 3 or 4 years prior to that. And so it was an exciting new sport, and they were trying to get more people involved. So it was kind of cool actually to jump in.
What was that like in 2019, getting started into the sport of wheelchair curling?
Well, 2019 was the first year I was actually selected to the national team, and it was uh, it was something I had worked for over 10 years, and to actually be recognized for all the hard work and to be given the opportunity to compete for Team Canada was something really special, and it was uh, it was a moment that I shared with my family, and a lot of tears of joy were were shared at that time. But it was quite exciting, and it was something that I had worked for really hard for a long time.
Of course, leading up to making the national team, what were some of the competitions and things that you were doing to prepare to make that happen?
So we had there were some provincial teams that I played on. So in Canada, we have a provincial system of teams, and I had opportunities to play with athletes locally, and prepared myself through working with them and with the coaches that I had provincially and locally, and just worked through a lot of skill development, connected with the national team coaches to ask them what I need to do to get better, and just really worked on my skills all the way through until I actually made the team in 2019. And then after that, of course, you need to continue to develop yourself at that level, and develop your skills in the sport. So it was a great learning opportunity for me at both the local, provincial, and national level before I managed to get out to international competition.
What was that feeling like the first time you got to compete in the World Championship in 2019?
It was terrifying. I remember the very first time I got up there to actually throw a stone with the maple leaf on my back. I was actually physically shaking, and I get that way every time I compete. So, but the very first stone I threw at an international competition with officially representing Canada was a surreal experience, and it was scary. But once we got going in the game, things settled down after that, and it was really exciting and a lot of fun. But yeah, it was scary the very first time.
What was that like, obviously, getting to compete in 3 World Championships?
They were great. I mean, each world championship had something different about it. The first time I went out, I started off as the third, and then in the third position, and then eventually got, when I was selected in 2020 and 2021, I was selected as the alternate. So I had a very different role as the alternate player compared to the very first year that I went out in 2019. So, but as the alternate, there's a certain role that you play. And then within that, at each event, there's something that's very different. So you don't ever approach the World Championships the same way every single time. So I think just expecting that they are different and understanding what the differences are and how you can adapt to that is really important. So I just approached each event differently and bought into the whole idea of being the alternate.
How is that like, obviously, getting to compete as an alternate player in the World Championship?
Well, it's both really rewarding and challenging at the same time. To be named as a member of Team Canada is always a significant opportunity, and one that I'm always really proud to have been part of any of the national teams that I competed in. The challenging part is understanding the role of an alternate, because I'm really a very competitive person and I don't think I'm a really good bench person. So to be able to take on that role and do it well, I have to say I was really proud of myself for doing that. There's some special moments as an alternate that you have to look into, and whenever you're called upon to play, you've got to be ready. And so the whole time that you're there, you're just preparing for the tap on the shoulder to be called in. And I did get opportunities at all of the World Championships that I competed in. So I felt like I was always ready to go whenever they needed me.
Of course, going into the 2021 season, what was that like preparing to make that Paralympic team?
It was really difficult. We were in the middle of COVID, and we were in the middle of significant lockdowns. So we couldn't actually, so the team is made up of players from across Canada. So there's a player from British Columbia, one from Manitoba, 3 of us from Ontario, and we weren't allowed to come together to train. So a lot of the training, all of the training during that year, except for a camp close to when we left for the 2021 World Championships, were done in isolation. So I have pictures of myself at a curling club locally where I'm the only person in the club, and the rink or the club agreed to prepare ice for me to train. And that, when I think about that, the significance of that is not lost on me. Like it took a lot of people who were dedicated to making sure that I got what I needed to be able to train. And at the same time, it's incredibly lonely. Like in a curling rink, it's really, really quiet when you're all by yourself. And so I found that was a significant challenge. And so a lot of our time was spent on Zoom calls. Tactical sessions were spent on Zoom calls. Strategy sessions were spent in team meetings on Zoom. And you just had to find your way through a really difficult time. And I think we did pretty well, but it was quite challenging. Yeah.
Of course, for my listeners that don't know, how do you compete in the sport of wheelchair curling?
So we so in the 4-person game, there is a person, you all have your own stick with a delivery head on it, and the delivery head goes on the curling stone, and the stick is about 7.5 feet long. And you position yourself behind the rock, you throw your brakes on, and then one of your teammates is behind you to anchor you and hold your wheelchair, so that when you throw your stone, you actually don't move, because you're on ice, so it's very slippery, and any pressure pushing the stone forward pushes you backwards. So you have to have someone behind you to anchor you. And you push the stone towards a target that a person at the other end, called the skip, is holding a broom, and they are holding the broom for you to throw the stone to that target. And then the stone, as it rotates down the ice, will curl depending on the turn that you've put on it, clockwise or counterclockwise turn. And the idea is to really get to the target and have more stones in the closest to the center of the big round circle called the house, have more your stones compared to the other team's stones closer to the center. Does that help?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Of course, what is that like, obviously getting to compete against some of those teams like US and other countries?
The other countries are really good. If China is one of the countries that is currently the best in the world at the moment. They are the reigning Paralympic champions, and just this past month they won the World Championships, beating Canada in the 4-person team for the gold medal. And I think there's a lot of parity amongst the teams now internationally than there used to be about 5 or 6 years ago. So everyone is sort of catching up to the same skill level. So playing these teams is really a lot of fun, but you've got to be on your game because they're all very, very good teams. So any team can beat any other team on any given day.
What was that like, obviously making that Paralympic team and going to Beijing to compete nationally?
Well, it was a dream come true. I had always wanted to compete at the Paralympic Games, and what the sport was, the choice of sport hadn't come to me until I found wheelchair curling. I had competed in wheelchair basketball for several years, but I knew I was never going to make the national team and be able to compete at a Paralympic Games. So when I got the official letter telling me that I had made the team, it was well, it really was a dream come true, and it's a moment that I'll never forget, and a moment that I would like to repeat in 2026. So I'm still, I want to get back there. I think it was amazing, and it's quite a special feeling.
How has your time, obviously competing in wheelchair basketball, helped you onto the side of wheelchair curling?
Well, I think the wheelchair basketball taught me how to be a really good team player, and how important it was to not be focused solely on me as an individual competing in a sport, but me as an individual competing in a team sport. And so it helped me to learn that, and then the work that I'm been doing with the curling team, the national curling team, and the program has helped me to develop that even more and to become much better at that and not be so selfish in sport.
Of course, once you made the Paralympic team to go to Beijing, what was that moment like getting to Beijing and competing in Beijing?
It was pretty cool. The opening ceremonies was the most amazing moment of those games. To be out there and to have your country called and to be part of a larger team, Canada, was it's indescribable, really. It's really hard to put it into words. So it was a very emotional moment, and to have my family back home be able to watch and to see me come through the tunnel and to see me be part of the opening ceremonies and be part of the big red team was quite something. So it was unbelievable, and to actually now know that I will always be called a Paralympian is quite an accomplishment. And when you think about it, there was only 40 some athletes there competing for Canada in the sports that were there, para hockey and skiing, and curling. And so not many people get that opportunity. And it was quite something.
What was that feeling like when you received your Paralympic gear and you saw the Canada Maple Leaf flag and the Paralympic symbol on your gear?
It was pretty cool. I have to say, I mean, the Lululemon was a great sponsor for our team, and the bag that we got. Well, I have to say, I cried when I opened the bag because they had so much great clothing in there, and everything was just about the symbol of Canada, and the Canadian Paralympic Committee logo, and yeah, it was pretty special, and yeah, I'll cherish that forever.
What were some of your routines and rituals like at the Paralympics?
So we really were on a very tight schedule. So we had every day was planned out, where when we were going to eat, what our snacks were like, what our snack time was, what our playing time was, and it was a very long round robin. We had to compete against 11 teams, and so we were very disciplined in our scheduling when our sleep was, and making sure that we were getting to the venue on time, getting ourselves ready for game time, and making sure that we were mentally prepared as well as physically prepared. So it was a very structured process for each day of what we were going to do when. So we were always told you had to be here at this time, get on the bus, get to the venue, prepare yourself for game time. And so it was a really structured a structured time frame. And we were really disciplined about making sure that we were falling within that structure. So preparing was always based on what the schedule was for the day, and making sure that you were there to meet the schedule.
What was that like, obviously getting to compete against Team USA in that rivalry game?
I didn't get to play against the US, but the team is a very good team, and you know, they were quite challenging, and the team, we've been friends with that team for a really long time, because we've seen each other quite a lot, and we've played together and played against each other at a number of events. So while they're friends, they're also strong competitors. So it's always a lot of fun to play that team, because we know them so well, and they are very good. So it's fun to play them. Honestly, it's a great team.
While at the Paralympics, what was it like getting to receive a medal and having that medal around your neck?
Well, I think anytime you win a medal at an event like a Paralympics, it's very special, and it's one that, again, I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. And it's a moment that like I say, it's a moment that I will cherish forever. It was to the fact that we got to do that with the folks that I got to do it with, like the other 4 teammates, and who I consider to be good friends, was pretty special.
How's it been like, obviously getting to travel around the world, getting to compete in wheelchair curling?
It's been great. I mean, I don't think that I would do any of the traveling that I've been able to do if it wasn't for wheelchair curling, and we've had opportunities to compete in some great environments and to meet some amazing people all along the way. And it's a great benefit of competing on a team that gets to travel internationally, is to take in some of the wonderful people and places and cultures that you get to experience.
How does it feel to have Paralympian behind your last name and add PLY?
It's pretty cool. And the fact that we were able to do PLY, which hadn't been the case up until this year, is pretty significant, and one that I do not take lightly. Yeah.
What has it been like, obviously getting to meet your fans and getting to share that moment of wheelchair curling?
I don't know that I have any fans, really. I just think that people are really excited to talk to me about wheelchair curling, and to talk about my experiences at international events and the World Championships and the Paralympic Games, and I'm always excited to share that. I'm always hoping that other people see wheelchair curling and then decide that it's something that they'd like to try, and I'm excited to help people do that whenever I meet somebody who uses a wheelchair and is interested in the sport. So I think my role really is to become, or what I feel is important, is that I help people buy into the sport and get hooked on it, and if I can teach anyone anything about the sport, I'm ready to do that. So I'm always looking for opportunities to be able to help people become wheelchair curlers and to grow the sport.
What are some of your favorite memories and moments competing in wheelchair curling?
Well, clearly it was winning the bronze medal at the Paralympic Games was an amazing feeling. And more recently, I got to compete at the World Championships in the mixed doubles, and my partner and I, Dennis Thiessen, and I managed to win the bronze medal after, you know, a round robin where we played undefeated, and we lost the wrong game. We lost the semifinal against the US actually, and ended up in the bronze medal game. But we beat China in that game and played a really great game, and to have been on the ice with Dennis and win that medal with him was also pretty special.
What was that feeling like, obviously getting to play in that mixed doubles match?
It was a lot of fun. I hadn't played mixed doubles prior to this World Championships, and there's a lot we are learning about mixed doubles in wheelchair curling, because it's slightly different than mixed doubles in able-bodied curling, and I feel like we're having an opportunity to do some really cool pioneering type things when it comes to mixed doubles. So I'm looking forward to the future of mixed doubles in wheelchair curling, and to seeing and to having other opportunities to be able to compete with Dennis at other events, and to kind of build the playbook on this, and looking at what tactics and strategies we can use at furthering the sport, and hopefully winning other medals.
Of course, once you came home back from the Paralympics, what was that feeling like, receiving your Paralympic ring and having the Canada Maple Leaf flag on it?
It was again, it's another representation of all that you've accomplished, and it's the symbol of that hard work that you've put in all the years leading up to the Paralympics, and it just shows that your dedication and hard work has paid off, and that's the reward for it. So it's sitting in a very, very safe place in my house. I don't wear it very often, but it's pretty cool.
How has that been like, obviously getting to compete alongside some of your teammates like Dennis, Jim, and even Irene?
So Ina and Dennis are longtime, have been on the national team for a long time, as Mark Idison and the others as well. You're always learning from your teammates, and I feel like those two have taught me a lot. And not only those two, but obviously the other people on the team have taught me a lot. And I look to them as the leaders of the sport, and see how they behave and how they compete and how they train, and try to find little nuggets that would help me in my journey. So I'm always looking to them for their advice and as mentors.
Who are some of the people that you look up to in the sport of wheelchair curling?
Well, I think really just they are my team. My teammates are the people that I do look up to. I also look to our coaching staff and our national team staff themselves, because they are incredibly smart people who are incredibly supportive of us, the athletes. So I'm always turning to them for their advice and their expertise, so that I can continue to grow in the sport.
What are some of your future plans in the sport of wheelchair curling?
Well, I'm working right now towards the 2026 Paralympic Games in Cortina, and I'm hoping to be selected for that team, whether it's on the mixed doubles team or the 4-person team. So right now, that's my goal, is staying healthy and strong, so that I can compete at those games in 2026.
Of course, as you prepare for the 2026 Paralympics, what are some of the things that you're doing in these upcoming years?
So this year, the winter, we're off for the summer now, and so I'll be doing my dry land training that I normally do through the summer, and making sure that I stay physically healthy and strong. In the fall, we'll be getting back together with the team and either training together as the 4-person team and the mixed doubles team together, and then hopefully competing at some bonspiels where we can actually put tactics into place. And I'm looking to hopefully be selected to the team that goes to Korea in 2024 for the World Championships next March. And then the following year would be the World Championships in Italy, I expect. They're going to be hosted in, I think they will be hosted in Italy prior to the 2026 Paralympic Games. So there's a schedule in place, and we have our kind of marching orders from now until then.
What has it been like, obviously, getting to live out your Paralympic dream and continue your Paralympic dream of making multiple Paralympics?
Well, it's always done with the support of a really strong network. I work full time, and I've had significant and unwavering support from my employer, who has provided me with the time that I need to be able to get ready for events. Also, my family's been really supportive and has sort of been cheerleading me along the way. So that couldn't happen without those two for sure, along with the network of our staff, like our support staff, physiotherapists, doctors, mental performance trainers, coaches, all of those people. All of that comes together to work to help you get through what you need to get through to get ready for those moments. So it's not just me getting ready physically and mentally, but having that support group that helps to get you ready for that. And so you know, I think it's important that all of those pieces come together, and that's what made our journey to the Paralympics in 2022 so successful, was having that team together. And I expect that team will help us get through the next 4 years as well.
What has it been like, obviously, balancing life as a curler, professional athlete, and life outside of curling?
Well, like I said, the people the organization I work for has been really supportive. So I have a very busy job. So they have allowed me to take a block of time off to be able to get ready for significant events. So when it comes time to actually compete at a World Championships, they let me take time off to train and get ready, and then actually compete. And then for my family, I think it's they understand the sacrifices it takes to not for competing at this level. And so, you know, it means a lot of time away from home, and they've been really good about allowing me to do that. So I think it's an understanding that this is a dream, and that they're totally on board with it.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to get into the sport of curling?
I think you have to give it a go. Like, honestly, it sounds really silly, but curling is a really interesting sport, and it is a lot harder than it looks. And when I first tried it, I thought, wow, it's just shuffleboard on ice. Like, how hard can this be? And when I actually went out and tried it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. And it takes a lot of physical strength and endurance and stamina to be able to sit on a sheet of ice for 8 ends, to be able to prepare yourself for that mentally and physically, to last out that whole game without freezing, and, you know, preparing yourself for the really cold temperatures that you would get in a curling rink. So and it's not just for old people. Like, a lot of people think that curling is just for old folks, and it's actually not. And it's like I say, it's really hard. It's a lot more difficult than you think, and it's a lot of fun. And once you actually get hooked on it, you realize all the details, or all the technical things that you need to know to be able to get better at this sport. And I think, just giving it a go, at least to get you through that first step, is really important. Just trying it out to see.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to represent a national team, whether it's Team USA or Canada, and go to the Paralympics in curling?
Don't give up. I mean, I think always look to people that are doing well in the sport, and what is it that they're doing? How are they training? What is their attitude when they're out on the ice? Or are they a strong teammate? And if they are, then I think you should emulate that and try to prepare yourself for being an alternate, let's say. And so how do you behave when you are the alternate, or what is it that you need to do to support your teammates? And it's a very small team, right? It's only 5 people. So the personalities or the communication amongst your teammates is really important, and being able to support each other in good times and in really tough times is also really important. So I would find ways to find somebody that's a really good leader in sport and see what they do to be that good leader, and get respect from their teammates. I think those are key things that make a really good teammate. And in curling, that's a really, really important element for success of a whole team, is that the moment that every person on that team is a good teammate. It's really important.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Collinda J. I'm on Instagram at CSHEJOS, and I'm also on Facebook.
Thank you again, Collinda Joseph, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as a Canada Paralympian wheelchair curler.
Thank you very much, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Collinda Joseph, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Take care.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.